This video has been made possible by BENQ. If you're a digital artist in need of a professional monitor, then check out the link below.
Welcome back to part 3. Today we're going to tackle the frame and the front steering axle. Select a frame and in Polygon Action, click Insert Polyloop and the modifier as Insert Region. Then switch to Q Mesh Polyloop and pull it in. Delete the front polys and mirror and weld. Bridge the edges and move the top part in with the gizmo. Unmask the front and scale it flat. Crease the edges and turn on dynamic. Add edge loops to help control the shape. Control W to make a one poly group and Q mesh to poly in the middle. As you're Q meshing, press Control to make a duplicate of the poly. Q mesh again to give the plane some thickness. Change the polygon action to move island. Select the plate with Select Rectangle and Split Hidden. Grab the clip curve and straighten out the ends. Add an edge loop down the middle and Q mesh a single poly out. Switch back to the frame and in Edge Action, select Slide Edge Loop Complete. Adjust the edges to give a better arc. Since there will be hydraulic hoses running along the frame, we need to add more depth. Q Mesh Polyloop and hold Shift to move it in. Now for the front plate. Mask the frame and add a polycube. Split mask points and delete loops. Scale it in and try to get the basic shape. Go to the Subtool palette and clone it as a new tool. Mask it and bring in a cylinder 3D from the gizmo. So originally, I inserted cylinders, placed them in the right position, and booleaned them to give the shape. Then I used Zremesher to clean it up, which turned out good, nice even topology, it respected the polygroups, and creased the edges when I was Zremeshing. However, it was a little bit too much topology for a piece right in front. If it was anywhere else on the model, I would have kept it. And there is no way I was going to retopple this piece. Starting out the same way, inserting cylinders, split mass points, extruding 2 polys up to create the cut, make sure the cylinder is in the same depth as the base and does not extrude past the edges. Duplicate the mesh and position the cylinders in the same position as the holes in the reference. Control dragging with the gizmo to make duplicates. Switch to solo mode and make the front part of the cylinder the same polygroup. With the Zmodeler brush, hover over a poly and select Bridge 2 polys. Start bridging polys together. It will take longer than booleans in Zremesher, but less time than manual retopology. Working in symmetry will speed up the process. For the ends, Alt-click and Q-mesh them out. Then switch to Transpose, Polygroup All, and scale them flat. This is one of the cases where switching to the transpose line will speed up the scaling. I love the gizmo, but the transpose line still serves a purpose. So I'm going to go ahead and bridge the rest of the polys together off video. Adding in a couple slices to finish up the bridging. Now I can switch to Q-mesh, Polygroup All, and punch out the holes. Collapse a few edges to clean up the mesh a bit. After the top part is finished, I can unmask the bottom and gizmo extrude it down. The rest will be masking and moving, making sure the edge flow is looking nice. Slice across and delete the extra edges it makes. Then split the point in the middle. Choose Inset Polygroup All and Inset Region as the modifier. Then QMesh Polyloop. Split the point again and QMesh it in. Crease the edges and turn on dynamic. Since we cloned the subtool, when we insert it back into the Road Grader tool, it will come in at the same size and location. You can delete the original, if the circle is hard to see from a distance, we can bevel the edges so more light will reflect off of it. Choose Crease Polyloop with Outer Targets as the modifier. Let's start on the front hydraulic hose cover. Alt-click a few polys on the frame, and when Q-meshing them, hold Ctrl to split them off. Now we can select it and split hidden. Q-mesh all polygons inward. Unmask the front and extrude down. Delete all the polygons except the front plane. Collapse that edge and get out of solo mode so we can start shaping the piece. Alt-click the two polys and start Q-meshing in. Hold Shift to switch to move and pull them out slightly past the front plate. Snap it to the side. Start masking and moving points to closer resemble your reference. It may seem unnatural now, but when we extrude it back, you will see it take shape. After the extrusion, Alt-click the top polys and Q-mesh them up. Now Alt-click the back 3 polys and extrude them. Transpose those polys out and scale them flat. Collapse the 2 edges at the end and unmask the border. Bring up the gizmo and move it outwards. Uncrease all, press QC50 from the Drush Tools plugin, and change the smooth subdivision to 6 and crease level to 3. Continue to move the points into place. One part that's not looking great is the middle. That's because we still need to reduce the edges. When deleting edge loops, the Zmodeler brush will respect masking. You can control where the edge loops are being deleted at. Now that there's one edge running down the middle, the dynamic subdivision is looking correct. Continue to make small adjustments. I usually don't start off modeling with the plane, but there are some cases where it's beneficial to do so. Once you are satisfied with the results, you can mirror and weld it to the other side. Back to the frame, insert 3 edge loops and uncrease them. Snap it to the side and make a slice. Q-mesh the 2 middle polys. We're going to mask the points and start creating the arc. Let's work on the front axle. Click on a new tool, bring in a cylinder 3D from the gizmo. Scale it in and duplicate the cylinder. Bring in a polycube from the gizmo, scale it up and move it back. Extrude a small poly loop and delete the interior faces from both the cube and the cylinder. Hover over an edge and select Bridge to Holes. Unmask the back and move it out. Mask the cylinder and select Deformer Soft from the gizmo. Unmask the points and scale them in the Y direction. Press Accept when finished. Slide the edges near the corners to help support the form when we turn on dynamic. Crease the top and the bottom. Mask the cylinder and select Deformer Soft from the gizmo. Unmask the 2 middle points and scale it in the X. Press Accept when finished. Mask the points and feather them back in. On low poly objects, you can lower the smooth intensity to 1 or 2 and start smoothing out the shape. Continue to mask out points and adjust the model. Alt-click the polys and Q-mesh them out. Turn on symmetry and start adjusting the sides. Crease the model to get a sense of where you're at. Sometimes it takes a lot of back and forth to get the shape you're looking for. Other times you won't have a decent reference of the object, so you will have to use your best judgment. Just work it until it comes out the way you want. Constantly be rotating your model, look at it from all different angles. Center the gizmo and select Taper. Press Accept when you're finished. Q-mesh the ends up and crease them. Turn off Dynamic, hover over a poly and choose Bridge Connected Polys. Then adjust the creasing. Do a very low polish by features and smooth out the mesh. Polygroup the top 4 polys and choose Sphere Eyes, Polygroup Island. Click and drag inwards twice. Then select Transpose Polygroup Island. Center the gizmo and scale it up. Crease PG and turn on Dynamic. Then QMesh Polygroup Island and extrude it up. Clip the ends and adjust the arms. Add an edge loop on the cylinder and scale it in. The rest is just fine-tuning it with small adjustments. Mask the model, add in the cylinder 3D from the gizmo with symmetry turned on. Rotate the cylinder into place and split mask points. Crease the ends and move it into place. Select Insert Flat Island and QMesh Polygroup Island. Hold Shift while QMeshing to go into Move mode. Unmask the top 5 polys and Control Move with the gizmo to extrude them. Switch to the transpose line to scale them quicker, or you can use Clip Curve. Move the polys down and extrude again. Stitch all the verts except the front loop. Select QMesh Flat Island and press Ctrl to separate the polys to a new island. QMesh again to give it some thickness. Unmask the new island and rotate it 90 degrees. Mask the outer ends and move the pieces toward the middle. QMesh them together and delete the loops. After deleting the 2 flat islands, you can bridge the open holes together. Turn on Dynamic and start creasing the edges to form the shape. Alt-click the top middle polys and Q-mesh them while holding Shift. Rotate to the front and clip off the sides. Crease the top poly loop. Unmask the interior points and pull down to create a nice slope. Going to have to do a little cleanup on the ends, some sliding and moving of edges. Collapse unnecessary edges. Smooth out the transition with a very low smooth intensity setting. Add some edge loops to the top to help with the form and set up for extrusions. Unmask the middle polys and control drag them down with the gizmo. Unmask the middle edge to control where the bevel will stop. Q-mesh the polys in to create separation. Turn on dynamic and set up your creases. Select Insert, Multiple Edges, and add 3 edge loops. Crease the middle. If the space is too large or small, you can adjust it with the gizmo. Once the general shape is created, you can scale and position closer to the reference image. When masking or selecting points in dynamic mode, target the orange points instead of the edge of the mesh. That is the real position of your mesh. Continue to get that bottom curve correct and double check your creases. Now that the base is created, we can start adding in smaller pieces. Add an edge loop on one side of the arm. Q-mesh a single poly and press Ctrl to extract it off. Q-mesh again to add thickness. Split it to a different subtool and clip curve the ends till it's straight. Add in a few edge loops and scale it out. Go to the gear icon in the gizmo and click Bend Curve. Increase the curve resolution until you see 3 orange points. Rotate the canvas and snap it to the side. Start moving the points until you get the curve you want. Increase the curve resolution to refine it. When finished, press Accept. Clip curve the ends to straighten and merge the subtool down. Q-mesh the poly back to the base and crease the edges. So I modeled in some little pieces to the wheel area. Basic box modeling that was already covered. Now for a handy built-in plugin that ships with ZBrush. It's called Text3D and Vector Shapes. Click New Text and type in a word or number. Press Enter and it will appear in the middle. There's quite a few options. You can change it to bold, change the type of font, load a font from your PC, you can change the resolution, extrusion distance, the spacing between letters, turn on and off bevel with the option of how many edge loops you want in the bevel, and whether the bevel is going in or out. Turn off adaptive and delete everything except the front plane. Turn on double with adaptive size to 0. Click on half and run it again. Straighten any edges that need it and delete the unused edge loops. Normally, I will use Text3D and turn on Adaptive and leave it with the triangles if it's for a render or there is no close-up shots of the wireframe. Otherwise, I'll use this process to get a nice quadded mesh. By clicking Do Nothing for the polygon action for Zmodeler, you can click on a poly in whichever way the orange line is pointing, it will perform the edge action. It can be very useful in some situations. Switch to QMesh and give it some thickness. QMesh polygroup with Shift to adjust the thickness. Hold Ctrl and slide the bevel width slider up to give your polygroups a bevel. Crease PG and turn on Dynamic. Crease additional edges as needed. Rotate and move the text into position. Text3D is a really nice feature to have. That will do it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Here's what the finished front end looks like. Don't worry, the pistons and hydraulic hoses will be covered in part 4 of this video series. I hope to see you there.